welcome to the Race and Lanes podcast. I am your host, Rico Muhammad. Hopefully, we will be joined shortly by my co host, Mr. Chuck Snow. We're having a little bit of a technical difficulty, but we're trying to work it out, see if we can get him plugged in. And tonight, we have a special guest that is joining us tonight. Um, Miss Lindsey, she's from NextGen Trucking. She will be coming on to share some information with us, and we're definitely looking forward to that. But before we do, let's jump into our regularly scheduled programming, which is always the name of the podcast is Rates and Lanes, and the most important thing is what is the rates doing and what are the lanes looking like. Right now, we have showing that the diesel fuel price has dropped by 2.5 percentage points since last week. So we're showing that the national average price for diesel fuel is sitting at $5.14 per gallon. I'm going to jump in here really after in a second, and I'm going to share my screen so we can go over the different segments. But the push to move freight at the end of the month led to tighter capacity in truckload markets last week, but it wasn't enough to keep the national average rates for vans, reefers, or flatbeds from falling month over month. So we're going to take a deeper dive and see how those different segment types were performing. Before we do that, though, let me go back in and share my screen so that you guys can see what I am looking at. All righty. So as we jump over, this is the dry van. So we're showing that it's coming out of the northeastern corridor. We're showing up in there that outbound spot market rate for dry vans is at $2.44 per mile on average. Moving down to the mid-Atlantic and southeastern states, we're showing an average outbound rate of $2.80 per gallon. Coming out of the Midwest, we're showing that the average outbound spot market rate checks in at $2.78 per mile. And we're showing that the South Central region, we're showing an average outbound rate of 274. Moving out of the West Coast, we're showing an average outbound rate for 263. Jumping over to the flatbed portion of the report, coming out of the upper northeastern corridor, we're showing that average outbound rate is at 336. Moving out of the mid-Atlantic and southeastern states, we're showing an average outbound rate of 377. Coming out of the Midwest, we're showing average rates at 364 for flatbeds. Moving out of the South Central region, we're showing an average outbound rate of 346. And wrapping up, coming out of the West Coast, we're showing average outbound rates checking in at 297. Jumping over to the temperature-controlled or reefer portion of the report, coming out of the upper northeastern corridor, that average for reefers at 262. Moving down to the mid-Atlantic and southeastern states, that average is showing at 308. Climbing back up into the Midwest, we're showing that the average outbound rate is $3.14. And coming out of the South Central region, we're showing an average outbound rate of $3.16. And wrapping up, coming out of the West Coast, we're showing that average outbound rate checks in at $3.10. And without any further ado, let me go back and turn my screen sharing off. And looks like we're still having a little bit of problem with Chuck. Let me go and welcome our guest in, though. Let's welcome Miss Lindsey to the Race and Lanes podcast. Good evening, Lindsey. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for taking the time out to come and join us. So you're with NextGen Trucking. Why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction and tell us a little bit more about NextGen Trucking?
Sure. So, newly formed nonprofit trade association. We're actually a grassroots. We, we came together as a group of people wanted to help solve a problem. The problem in the trucking industry for many years is workforce, aging workforce of diesel techs, of truck, and there was really no cohesive solution that we felt that we. I remember perfectly. I was at a conference and we were talking. What are we going to do as an industry? Nobody's getting into the industry. Young people, the jobs, trucking jobs, and they're good jobs that pay well. And to me, a guy by the name of Dave Dine, who was a truck driver instructor and created this truck driving program in California at Patterson High School. One day I gave Dave a call, up this idea, what if we formed this trade association and really worked as an industry. And so we have an industry-wide, wanted to create an industry-wide solution. And so our goal is just about trucking careers, but then also start trucker focus really is middle school and high school. So, a lot of times you raise awareness in middle, planting those seeds, and then make sure that there's a program at the high school. So a CDL program, a supply chain program, diesel tech program can get trained. And when they're graduating from high school, they're ready to go on to a career field.
Cool beans. That's kind of exciting. So you talked a little bit about different programs starting in the school system, and Chuck was telling me a little bit about you guys have programs that you really are trying to focus on concentrating on getting younger people more involved in the industry. You want to maybe tell us a little bit more about what are you guys doing to help get to maybe drive more younger people into the industry or to expose them to the industry?
Yeah, so we have in production right now is we're working on a careers in trucking presentation, and it is based off of a focus group that Trucking Association put on. And it's what does Gen Z about careers in trucking? And so based on that, we put the task force that worked on creating this presentation. And now we have a professional marketing company that is putting four videos together. It's going to be an interactive presentation that anybody can use to go to their local school and either the career counselors or to the career exploration class, or maybe they'll even go to the class themselves and bring a truck. And so really, raising awareness. What we're doing is we are involved in organizations that reach out to students, that reach out to counselors and teachers. So we were recently at the Skills USA Diesel Tech National. We will be at the FFA conference in October, where students will be in attendance. We're going to have a driver simulator there, have some road team first at that, and we're going to just engage with students and talk to students and get them excited. We had 242 students. They were high students or interested truck driving students that went to Math America Truck Show, and we put them on a scavenger hunt, and they loved it. They got so excited. And I mean, how cool is it to go see all these trucks in these big, but we're also, speaking at the Associated Career Technical Education Convention, which is going to have teachers, it's going to have administrators, and we're going to be talking truck driver training program at your school. And so we're really focusing on raising and getting these programs started. We have met with over 65 high schools across the country. They say, hey, we want to start a truck driver training program. We do this. And we're a long game, right? This isn't a quick fix. We're investing in and running, and we hope in 5 years that 18-year-old able to drive interstate through a 2-year-long high school truck driving program, and they're going to be the most well on the road because it's their passion. It's what they want to do. Had extensive training.
So I'm a little ignorant to the whole process. So is that how they are? I know they were planning on introducing legislation to allow 18-year-olds to drive across state lines and all that stuff. So is that how it's kind of structured? They get 2 years of training in high school, or how? Maybe if you could unpack that a little more.
Well, yeah. So what you're referring to is the apprentice. It's the Safe Driver Apprenticeship Pilot Program, and it actually the application process opened up through the FSA on July 28th. It opened up 26th, and basically, if carriers want to apply, a lot of rules, but they have to have a Department of Labor apprenticeship program, comply with the FMCSA guidelines, but then they can have, there's an opening of 3,000 can be from ages 18 to 20 that will be able to enter the program and drive. So really we need statistics on if 18 to 20-year-old are just as safe with their Class A CDL as a 35-year-old. Are they as safe? And so it's really looking to get those numbers, statistics, and make us safe. I really predict that in 5 years that 18 interstate. And so we want to get the programs in place where junior and high school can take driving, truck driving, and be in a truck driver training program for 2 years while they're in high school. He's got 2 driver simulators. He's got a truck and a trailer. This year, he just incorporated a cart and a utility trailer to practice backing. So really getting young industry and then trained on how to drive.
Cool. Okay. Let me see if we can do an audio check real quickly and see if my co-host is gotten squared away over there. Chuck, can you hear us, or can we hear you?
Can you hear me?
Oh man, now you coming in. We got you now.
The wonders of technology. Lindsey, thank you so much for joining us. I had you, and it was on such short notice, but I love what you guys are doing. I think it's great, and I think that with the shortage of drivers and the opportunities that are out there to get involved in a phenomenal industry, I know that in the last 30 odd years since it's kind of fallen out of favor with a lot of people, but I think getting some new blood in that maybe they're treated with respect. I think that's the big thing, that they're not abused by the shippers and the companies themselves. And drivers being as scarce and going to be even more scarce in future, going to probably get a new respect for truck drivers. But I do need to ask you on the new program that's allowing the 18 state, I would imagine there's some very, very short leashes attached where there's a face drivers are having them, as well as the outward cameras, and they're monitored completely. Is that true?
Yeah. So there are a lot of guys, which actually, unfortunately, is hindering some companies from wanting to be pilot program. The trainer has to have a certain number of years under their belt. They have to be 26 years to comply with moving violations. There's kind of a long list of driver trainer. The 18 to 20-year-old has to have that they have to comply with the equipment of the truck. It's got a lane avoidance, lane mitigation. It's got to have forward, inward, outward facing, and then carriers are going to have to report to the FSA, but then carriers are also going to have a Department of Labor apprenticeship program. So they have to, also send information into the Department of Labor, completing the apprenticeship program. I think it's a great program, and there's a lot of companies that are excited to do it. It takes some work in order to get the information that the FMCS needs and the Department of Labor needs.
So right now, is it mostly the mega carriers insured that are getting on this program?
I mean, I talked with the out of Minnesota, and they're a family owned company. They're not big. They're passionate about their community. They're the jobs that they provide, and they want to. So there is going to be a list of carriers who are in. That's what the FMCSA said at the webinar. They also said that the webinar is available if you want to look at it online. I'm assuming it's through the, and they had a PowerPoint presentation along with it. So they do have, so we can watch that if you're interested in being involved in it. So I think going to be a lot of bigger carriers. So there's going to be some smaller carriers on there as well.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how the small tough time they're having with insurance, and how the some of the insurance. I know that Intact up in Canada is interested in it because they see, I think they see the value of having a young driver that is with restrictions. It's not like, it sounds like it's not going to be when I got into this industry years ago, they gave me the keys to the truck and said, go to New York City. Those things aren't going to, there's, the driver, when he goes out on his own, is going to be that he knows very well, and that's what he or she will run. We're open board.
So I've put the link up for everyone. The website, Lindsey's website, is right there. You can go over there, click it, check it out, see what, and browse around and see what all they have to offer. I have a question, Lindsey. So you there's a grassroots association. What are the different levels of membership, and what are the benefits of say a smaller carriers or anyone joining the association as well?
So that's a great question. First, completely membership based, and so we are working on the mission. And so somebody that is joining our association and chances are we're starting a truck driver training program in their community state. We are connecting with the diesel tech programs that are already established in their state, and we connect. And we also are connecting with all this at high schools as well. So getting the industry connected to programs, them educational resources where they can go into schools, but also to do, if we want to solve this problem, we've got together as an industry a mission. And the thing that I am just so passionate about is, it's great for our industry. It's great for our economy. Trucking really does move America. It's really good. The thing that we see is these kids, their lives being changed. There are so many instances where these young people are literally turning their life to one of these trucking careers. And I can give you two examples. One of Dave's, his name was Javier, and he graduated with 5 years ago, graduates from Patterson's program. And when he was not excelling in traditional education. He was running the wrong crowd, on the brink of dropping out of high school. Well, his dad, Dave's hand one day, and Dave was like, yeah, because he said, saved my son's life. And Dave was like, how did I save my son's life? And of the truck driver training program, he saw a future for himself. He saw, I'm good at it, and I can actually now see a future for myself. Out of the 10 friends that he ran, 4 of them are deceased because of gang violence.
Wow.
3 of them are in, and then the other 3. And so it's lives like that that are being changed because of the programs. He just bought his own truck. So he is officially now an owner operator. He was a company driver, and now he's a small business owner. And that's what it's all about, these young people to these career opportunities and helping them succeed in life. Program in my community where I'm on their advisory board. I was at their classroom talking to the teacher, and he said, my students, that after they graduate in a couple years, if they're not $60,000, they're wrong as a diesel technician. And in the same breath, he said, most parents don't. And so getting these young people on the right career paths is literally our changing family trees. And so it is about helping our industry and creating this workforce, but it's about the student and change.
Good deal. Good deal.
Are you a nonprofit organization?
We sure are. Yeah. So we're a nonprofit. We are membership goes fully to fund our mission.
I think this is great. Better than I thought it was, because I really, when I heard you on Sirius, and I was blown away by your presentation and what you were doing, and thought on this show, and I'd love to work with you because this is so close to my heart. I think that just now about Javier, I just about had tears in my eyes that this actually life and that it's changing an awful lot of people's lives, because I think that maybe I do think this is the greatest industry in the world. It really is. And I'm like Javier, really. I wasn't in a gang, but probably headed for the success in life that I have seen. The career choice at 21 years old, and got into the trucking industry, which was and is like a family. And I was welcomed in, long-haired kid. People gave me good advice. I got to stand on the shoulders of giants all the way through. One thing about this, there's no shortage of people that want to give great advice.
Look at it. You still there, Chuck? Look, his audio.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you were saying that it was your long-haired kid. I was like, man, that must have been a real long time ago, because we go to the same bar.
It was, Rico. Underneath, I just shave it off.
Well, we're finding that Gen Z, trucking is appealing to Gen Z. And the reasons is he wants to make a difference, right? They want to help their community. And when there's a natural disaster, who comes in to save the day? That's when COVID happened, out there keeping us supplied with the goods that we need. That is trucking. The fact that trucking makes a difference. They love the technology that's involved, making sure kids see the inside of a truck and all cool things. And you guys are in the brokerage business, and you see all of the back end stuff and how supply chain, that is very appealing to Gen Z. So there are that what we have as an industry really appeal to Gen Z. They're entrepreneurial, letting them know that they can own their own business is he want to be able to have that career path where they start at one, they want to move up the ladder, whether that's
Right.
within a company or owning their own company.
That's great to hear, because I was kind of concerned about whether or not, and maybe you can speak to this, what kind of traction are you guys actually getting with the younger people? Because I don't see a lot of young people necessarily flocking to the industry from my experience. But if you got some different experience, I'd love to hear about it. And are they more so flocking towards driving, or are they more so interested in the diesel technician or mechanical part of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, listen, we are trying to fix the problem. The counselors, school counselors, they don't recommend going to a truck driver. They only talk about going to college. And so it's really trying to change that mind. Not everybody wants to go to college. There's a lot of aids. And so making sure they know about the trucking industry. They don't know about it. To me, it was so fun. I was at a conference and this gentleman came up and talked to me. He was 22 years old. He was actually the catering staff working at the hotel, but he had just gotten his CDL, literally in 2 weeks, getting ready to start his first, he said, big boy job. He was going through an apprenticeship program. He found a grant to get his CDL. He said to me, nobody once ever talked to me about the trucking industry. As I was said, he wants to see the country. He was in Louisiana and he's really only hurricanes happened. And so he was super excited. I'm going to quote him. He said, and so he knows that as a driver, he can in a home and he can go see the country. Wanted to do. He was so excited. He said, I have so much to offer. I've been working since I was 16. I've worked at Dave & Buster's. He listed all of these jobs. He says, I want to do something physical. So he's working flatbed. And so then he was so impressive. And he was so excited. And he wants to give to the industry. And so, but he was 22 and really never heard about truck searching on his own. So we have got to change the mindset of the teachers, of the counselors, of trucking as a good career.
Yeah, it's not the most, unfortunately, it's not as glamorous as it once may have seemed. I know back in the 70s and growing up during the 80s, I was born in 75 and growing up during the 80s, and there were like TV shows, it was BJ and the Bear and all those type of things. And it was kind of romanticized to us as smaller children that made us have a more interest in the industry. I don't think that we have that. And a lot of times, unfortunately, us that are in the industry are not the best ambassadors. We have to do a better job of being better ambassadors of the industry and being better caretakers of that. And when I say that, it kind of goes back to one of the things that we kind of preach here on the podcast, making sure that you are carrying yourself in a professional manner, whether it be, if you don't do nothing else, if you just wear a t-shirt and jeans, make sure it's clean, and just make sure that you are presenting the best optical, from an optic standpoint, that you are putting your best foot forward and showing that you're not just, you don't care. And I think that's a big thing. And so I'm glad to hear that you guys are getting a lot of traction and interest from the younger generation, because a lot of people think that we are going the way of a whole bunch of automation is entering into the industry. And I think that that's coming. However, there's still going to be a high need for someone to actually physically still get in the truck and drive some things, because there are going to be situations where automation is still not going to be able to handle all of it. So that's really exciting.
Rico, you're a young guy, and I guess I'm the old guy in this. And I really, and we've talked about it before, I think that the that's available in trucks is just going to make driving them easier. Any time within the next 40 years, you're just going to drive a truck onto the, going to hop out, and this thing is going to drive all, by itself. That's not going to debate that one. I do think that in an enclosed environment, that is definitely, it's happening now in some enclosed environments where the truck is, that, and truck yards, the technology is there. But I think that this job is easier, and I still talk about the time Rico and I were together. Saw a truck with no mirrors that is now legal. They got their go ahead from the DOT and FMCSA to use cameras. That's a huge turning point for our industry, because now all of a sudden the required is that much less, because you're looking at cameras, not mirrors, and automated transmissions and all the other wonderful things that we have. Now, what are students telling you that they want to see? Because I think that the trucks we're having these kids drive aren't really sexy to use. I know that when I was a kid, there was, there were the big long-nosed Kenworths and Peter to get their hands on one of those, because that's what they had on in the movies and the TV shows. And so, what are you hearing from students about what they think should be sexy and mine are totally two different things?
Well, students want to drive trucks, but that's not always the case. With the Safe Driver Apprenticeship Program, we are driving a newer truck because of all of the safety regulations that are surrounding and the things that have to be on it. But young people are by trucks, and they love to see the inside of a truck. A lot of them have never seen it of it. Their just minds are blown away. It's basically a mini homes, tiny houses on the road. And so being able to see the country living on their own in a tiny house, that's kind of what trucking is. And that.
Yeah. You know what? You're more that way. I think when I got into it, I think now there are restrictions that are standing in the way of us bringing on. We had a lot more freedom when 48 years, all sorts of different freedoms. We could split our hours up and things like that. Now, of course, you're regulated when to go into sleep, and people don't like that. The reasons we've lost so many people in the industry. And then, of course, as you get to certain shippers and receivers, and you have an appointment, 12 noon, if you show up 1 minute early, they chastise you, and if you they fine you. And that's frustrating, because these truck drivers are having to go through bumper to bumper traffic, and there's more crashes now. Just people drive cars like idiots. I think the majority of truck drivers are pretty dumb, and I'll go on record as saying that. I think we obviously have some bad apples in the industry, but for the most part, most of them are excellent drivers. But when I see some of them, and they create accidents and they create delays for the truck.
So I have a question for you, Lindsey. How do how can we be of service and help maybe get more awareness out there as far as getting, like, some people may be interested in having the program started here in, like, I'm in Georgia. So like if I was interested in trying to get you guys some exposure into the high school system here or something like that, how could someone help out with that whole initiative and program?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so, for instance, you say, what's going on in Atlanta? I can instantly tell you some things that are going on in Atlanta. If we've met with a school, you could probably tell me what would market a truck driver training program. Typically, they have career centers, and career center, basically a county might have 8 schools, and a career center is all of those 8 schools and technical training program. And so getting connected to those centers where they're doing the skilled trades, those are those that we want to be connected to. And education wants to partner with industry. We are here to help industry and to bridge those gaps and make sure those relationships are happening. One of these programs has an advisory board, and so they're looking to the industry to be there for career fairs. They're looking for the industry to too, and so partnering in your area is what we're trying to help. So we'd love for your members to join the association, to contact, get going in their area. Typically what happens if a school calls us, we have a meeting. It's about an hour long. And Dave talks about his program, through everything that he does. And then when it's over, he says he uses the vendors that he uses, among other vendors. So it's really helping them establish an entire program. One of the things that we're working on right now, are creating his curriculum and having his curriculum professionally written. All of the work and writing, and he has it set out, but we are a work curriculum writing company that is going to help us write it in terms of education and the different things that career technical education has to fall under. That is something that our foundation is raising funding for. And that's going to really help promote CDL truck driving at high schools across the country.
And so if someone was to join up and have a membership with you guys, could they also benefit from maybe having creating kind of a pipeline of drivers to maybe come in and come directly into their organization, or how would that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So at this point, we've been able to find several hundred diesel tech programs, and we give our members that list, and it's got the schools, it's got the names, and all of those schools are looking for advisory boards. About 9 truck driver training programs at high schools across the country. And so we can get you connected to that. It's a long game, right? It's about, typically if I had a meeting this week, the program is going to start in the next school year. So, helping alongside of that. And you're not going to get a student in a month from a training. You will hopefully in several years. It's about building relationships. So typically Dave sees that the companies that come in and build relationships with the students, where it's there, a representative comes and talks to this about jobs there, company in general. Those are the people the students go to work for because they feel comfortable with the employers. The other interesting thing is, a big supporter of mine has been Nurse Association, because and if you think about it, a lot of times they can't hire because they have to have hazmat, they have to have experience
Right.
for insurance purpose. But what we're doing, because eventually that is going to be their future workforce, talk to them and say, hey, this is our job. This is what we do. And this is how much you can make. And look me up in 5 years when you can come work for me, and let's have for you. It's all about the relationship and letting young people into how they can start in one place and end in a different place in career.
Seats.
Yeah.
Long. I love it. Have you gone on your diesel tech program, the OEMs or the large truck dealers like Rush, for example, literally hundreds of dealerships, and they're screaming as loud for technicians as anybody?
Yeah, so we do have some dealers in our association. We also have in our association, we have been a volunteer association. Last 4 years, I've worked for Ryder, and I was able to the association January 31st of this year. So from there, we are working on creating programs at schools, but it's all a work. I've met with a lot of dealers, but there's so many other dealers out there that we would love to meet with and talk to them about our program and how to partner to help them create that future workforce. I've been in trucking for over 10 years, but the last 2 years I've been in education, and I've learned that in high schools, there are construction programs at high schools. There's over 1,200 woodworking programs, 1,400 automotive programs. I've found a couple hundred diesel tech programs and 9 truck driver programs. So I can tell you that, see how the numbers are skewed. We don't have programs in high school in our industry. Also, $1.3 billion of funding, federal funding every year. So our industry is not getting that funding because it's going to all these other programs. What we're trying to do is get these programs created, get that funding for our industry started, and get these kids' lives changed. And we really do see that gens or not, they should go to college, get all this student loan debt. And so now is the right time to end and the careers that they can have without going to college.
Right. And I've been at this a long time, so I've seen I've seen the difference in the people that work for the large Teamster outfits that by today's standards, in today's dollars, those people made probably over 100,000. And then when deregulation came, those companies folded. Those jobs, when they replaced those drivers with every single cheap truck driver they could get in the every time they could find a warm bum to put in a cold truck seat. That they had. Remember when when this whole thing started, and the big guys, and it's no secret, the JB Hunts and Schneiders and Evergreen, who was in business, and all the rest of them, 50% turnover. Some of them had squads of would fly around North America picking up abandoned trucks. And now all of a sudden, companies have learned to treat their drivers with the utmost of realize the value of them. They don't want 100% turnover. They're 150% sells on lower turnover because they're respecting their drivers. And I think that this dovetail you're doing is making this a respectable job. Where somebody can afford to buy a house because they drive. Sounds like people like that example with young Javier. buying his own truck. His next thing is, if he hasn't bought it already, he will buy his own home. Pretty wonderful thing for a young guy or
That's
girl.
exactly.
Had they gone to university, they come out with a degree, and a lot of times, they end up with a degree in philosophy, and they've got $100,000 in debt and no job driving school.
Absolutely. The student, a lot of people that are in industries that go out and get a bunch of debt, and the pay does not match the I don't know. I guess I'll say it along the lines that sometimes the risk doesn't match the reward. When you go to school and you're getting $75,000, $100,000 worth of student loan debt, only to come out to get a job that only pays $45,000, $50,000. That's not a that's not a win-win situation in my estimation.
And that's where I think
It's really not.
Now, did you know, Lindsey, but in Canada, trucking is the number one occupation. Now, I'm not just talking about truck drivers. I'm talking about logistics community, whether it's billers or dispatchers or people, technicians, trailer mechanics, whatever. But we're our lawyer. What does it look like? What are the numbers like in the States? Are you similar?
You're breaking up a little bit on us, Chuck.
Didn't exactly hear your question there.
So in Canada, the trucking industry, one industry for the number of employees, is it the same? It's all the functions. It's trailer mechanics and it's billing people, sales people. Number in the United States.
Yeah, you still kind of choppy.
Okay.
I'm not sure what he's trying to ask, but we do have and we would love to get some programs started in Canada as well. One of the cool things about our association is we have truck drivers, so we have individual carrier memberships, and I love when truck drivers join or when diesel techs join, because they've had good careers, and they want other young people career option, and so anything that their membership helps go right foundation of reaching these young people.
So Lindsey, I want to go ahead, Chuck. We'll give it a shot again.
No, it's so exciting what you people are.
Okay, so Lindsey, I wanted to. We got about 10 minutes left in the show. I wanted to give you an opportunity to anything that you want to share with us that we hadn't had an opportunity to discuss up until this point, or any pertinent information that you would like to get out there. I'd like to make sure that you have an opportunity to do that. So the floor is definitely yours. Tell us about if anything at all that we hadn't had an opportunity to discuss that you feel like is important that we need to get out there.
Yeah, it's really conversations with people that are passionate about the industry. I spoke with who's in insurance, trucking insurance, and she was in education, but Dallas, Texas, and she said, I want to help. And actually, she's an insurance carrier for she said most of her carriers have 1 to 5 trucks. She's said, I want to help in Dallas get some of these programs started. I've got some connects, or we can easily find those people at schools. It's interesting because we have and administrators are very interested in starting programs. Students are going to be placed in a high demand, high skill, high wage job is what trucking is all about. And so Dallas jobs, if we can get some driving programs started in those communities, it's going to help feed that workforce. And I've also seen that start to think, become a truck driver, because my kid is making this much money. And so, there is a trickle effect that we've seen with parents. It's really all about education and getting parents knowledgeable. They're sometimes scared about the industry. So we got to make sure the image is up to par. Got to educate students and their parents about what, there's so many opportunities for growth, advancement, living wage, and there's different trucking jobs. You can be doing food 15 stops a day in your local community. You don't necessarily have to be 2 weeks at a time. Making sure young people know all of the different options that are available to them. They want to be a safety, maybe they want to be a dispatcher. They don't want any of these jobs. Carriers, a lot of the bigger carriers have social media, and that's appealing to young people. So just making sure young people know that trucking. It was funny. I went to a conference a couple ago, but I had to spend the night at one of the hotels, and I had a van with 4 other women that also got stuck in Charlotte. And there was this 25. She worked in advertising, talking, "Oh, what are you doing? Where are you going?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going to a truck conference in New Orleans." "What? Trucking has conferences?" I laughed. I said, "We conferences." Literally, she had no idea. Even know we're an industry, but literally 75% of everything that she has is brought to her by. We have a lot of conferences. We provide a lot of value to the country. Just getting these young people educated about.
I'm curious to know. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but when you're having conversations with younger people and things of that nature, when they start talking about the industry, what is the vibe or the feel from them when it comes to, especially starting out, that if they're with a bigger company, they may have to be on the road for a couple of weeks at the time and stuff like that. Is there a little bit of a pushback on that, or what's the pulse that you have gotten from your experience?
It's really a mixed bag, because we see a lot of young people want to see the country for this opportunity in their life. One of my partners, his son has been driving since he was 9. He was just chomping at the bit to turn 21 so he could go. He's in Minnesota. He was just driving in Minnesota, and then as soon as he turned 21, he is in and all over the place, and he loves it. And so some of them want the country. They're young enough, his roots tied down, and so it's a good opportunity. Some of them, they want to stay, right, trying to find those home every night type jobs is a fit for them. So it really is, and it just depends on the student.
Got you. So what are I noticed on your website as well, you guys seem to have a lot of pretty active on social media. You got a lot of different all the different platforms, at least, that you guys are on there. Are you gaining more traction on one than the other, or what's been your experience with social media and marketing and stuff like that for the association?
Yeah, so professionally, LinkedIn for our association. We know to Gen Z and millennials, if a lot of times they're looking on LinkedIn, they look at Glassdoor to use of companies. So if you don't have a Glassdoor profile set up, you should go in and get that set up, because they're looking at reviews. They want to see a real person. So if you have a driver that works for you, ask them to write even on your website. Maybe you can have some videos embedded where it talks and says, this is my job, this is what I do, this is what I value at the company. So young people about culture, the company culture. And so what can you as a company provide to see that company culture? What is it? And for us, for social media, we see the different platforms appealing to different people, different age group. Goal is to have active TikTok and Instagram really reaches young people. And then the LinkedIn and Facebook is going to reach parents and industry professionals.
Cool. Chuck, you want to get in before we get ready to?
No, you know what? I want to do more with you. I want to do some standardization. I love what you're doing. I certainly want to join and see what I can do to help my heart.
Well, we would love you to join. You can join online at nextgentrucking.org. Fill out the paperwork. Email me. Let me know we can get involved to some programs in your area. My email address is Lindsey at nextgentrucking.indsey. Check me out on LinkedIn, Lindsey Trent. Let's get connected. Let's start some program in your area. 3,000 high schools across the country. So you have to be involved in your backyard. I'm encouraging people to do, if they've got distribution centers, get involved in the local. It's not a big investment, a couple times a year, but be there, school system, and let kids know about your careers.
So so I'm a little confused. I want to make sure. So did we have a full green light as far as the 18-year-olds being able to cross state lines as of yet, or is that still in the works?
No. So in order for an 18-year-old to drive interstate, they have in the pilot program. And so they haven't even opened that. There's opened up applications, haven't approved any yet because it opened up last week.
Got it.
So hopefully we'll be able to get them through. They are not able to drive interstate yet, only interstate.
Intrastate. Okay. So, all right. So definitely. So we get the word out. We try to talk with, I think I got a career center. When you mentioned it, I think there's a career center not far from my house, as a matter of fact. And I think that it's a worthwhile cause to get people to bring the awareness up and to get people more involved, because definitely I think it's definitely a viable option for people that are looking for a real livable wage to still be able to make a decent amount of money without having a crazy student loan balance hanging over their head. So Lindsey, I appreciate you for taking time out tonight to come on the Rates and Lane podcast to join us. Anything else you'd like to leave us with before we get up out of here?
I'm just excited. We're my board of directors. We're passionate about what we're doing, and we just think it's making a big lives of students. And that's really what it's all about. That just kind of happens. Association is that we've seen lives changed, and more lives changing because of the programs that are being created. So about the great careers that we can provide, the living wages. We'd love for you to join us with this mission. Cool.
Well, we appreciate it again, Lindsey. Chuck, anything you'd like to try to get across before we get ready to back into a hole out here?
You know what? I'm looking forward to working with Lindsey and NextGen. Really excited. It's needed. We certainly need to get young people excited about what we'll think. And I think there's more opportunities in this than there are in a lot of other things. This isn't something that 1 in 10,000 people can do. This people with a basic skill set can learn and do very well at quality of life.
Exactly.
So there you have it. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting ready to wrap up the show. We want to thank Lindsey Trent from NextGen Trucking. The website, her website is right down there. You can click on that. Go check out the website. Hit her up. Check her out on LinkedIn as well. For my co-host, Chuck Snow, I am Rico Muhammad. This has been the Rates and Lanes podcast. We want to thank you guys for taking time out of your schedule to whether you joined us live or whether you're looking at us on a download later on this evening or any other time. We greatly appreciate it. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you took a little time to hang out with us, and we're always eternally grateful for you doing so. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe out there, stay healthy, keep it in between the mustard and the mayonnaise, and we'll talk at you same time, same place next week. God bless you and good night.
Catch you on the flip-flop.
Thanks, Lindsey. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.